Good morning, good Saturday morning. And thank you once again for coming so early. Some of our movies used to start at 10 o'clock. This year we started everything a little earlier, and yesterday we went a little later. Tonight we'll end, the last movie is at 9 o'clock, but we have a full day of great movies for you. And the thing that, as you notice when some of our directors are on stage, they are commenting about the projection quality at the Virginia Theater. First, it's this beautiful big old movie palace, screen huge, sound great, and as we change formats or aspect ratios of the film, there is an adjustment each time that you don't notice because it's so seamless. And that's because we have one of the greatest projectionists around who comes and works with us every year. I want to call him out on stage. Please help me welcome James Bond.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Joaquin is up there as well. Hi, Joaquin, thank you. We so appreciate you. And this morning, we're going to have our silent film, and it's one by Alfred Hitchcock. It's called Blackmail, and accompanying that film will be Anvil Orchestra. Yes, Anvil Orchestra. And we knew them as the Alloy Orchestra for some years, and they reconstituted the group, and it's Terry Donahue and Roger Miller. And the thing that I love about the name of the orchestra is it's a name that Roger gave them inadvertently. He was talking about this orchestra that we saw at Telluride, and he said, and he couldn't remember the name. He said, oh yeah, we saw this great orchestra, the Anvil Orchestra. And years later, after the Alloy Orchestra broke up, and when they reconstituted, they said, hey, let's use that name Roger Ebert gave us. So they're now the Anvil Orchestra, and they'll come on stage after performing. But this morning, I'd like to introduce another one of our guests who is here with, we actually drafted him this morning because his film is tonight. It's Larry Karaszewski. He's here with his partner, Scott Alexander. They met in film school, and they've been working together all of these years. They've produced so many things that they've written, this writing team, so many the movies that we admire, like Ed Wood, The People versus Larry Flint, the one they're here with tonight, Man on the Moon, more recent projects, Big Eyes, Dolomite Is My Name, and the acclaimed miniseries, The People versus O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story. Larry Karaszewski is also the former Vice President of History and Preservation at the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, and he is currently on the board of the National Film Preservation Foundation, and which is very important work, you know, and usually when we think about film preservation, we think about Martin Scorsese. Now we'll think about Martin Scorsese and Larry Karaszewski. Please help me welcome Larry Karaszewski.
Thank you very much, Chaz. That's, I hope I live up to that introduction. That's a very nice introduction. I was drafted like 5 minutes ago to do the introduction to Blackmail, and I'm happy to do it because I love the film very much. It's a very special movie. I kind of think of it as almost the first Hitchcock movie. He made movies before this, but this is really the movie that cements him as a director of thrillers. And it also has certain things like, the very first Hitchcock cameo. And, I'm sure everyone will burst into laughter the second you see Alfred Hitchcock. I think he shows up on a subway train here. It's also a particularly really interesting movie because it was made around 1929, and it began as a silent movie. You're going to see it tonight today as a silent movie. But about halfway during production, sound came out. And if you were making a silent movie, you knew you were kind of dead. And so the producers came to Hitchcock and said, can we make this a sound movie? And it had already been kind of begun and almost completed as a silent film. And so Hitchcock went back and reshot a number of stuff for the sound version, but a lot of the sound version contains much of this material that you're going to see today. But what's interesting about the sound version of this movie, which you're not going to see, is that because of the way it was shot, it made Hitchcock have to think subjectively about sound. So the weird way that Hitchcock kind of breaks down everything in cinema, the editing, the sound, it's like he did a bunch of sequences in this movie that, maybe his first classic sequence is the sequence where the word knife is repeated over and over and over again. And this woman's having a conversation, but all she can hear is the word knife. It's also in the silent version, but in the sound version, it is subjective sound. And people weren't really using sound that way, so it felt like a really radical thing. And the movie came out, but even though sound was taking over cinemas everywhere, a lot of people did see this version because what happened was sound was really in the big cities. It was more like when you went to see an IMAX movie or something. But when the movie went out to other places, there was the silent version that played everywhere. So people back in 1929, most people actually did see the silent version. But as years went by, people stopped watching the silent version. It fell into what's called public domain, and when movies fall into public domain, they sometimes fall into disrepair. And fairly recently, the BFI, the British Film Institute, along with Studio Canal and Martin Scorsese's Film Foundation, decided they would fund a big restoration of the silent movie. So that's what you're going to see today, and there are a couple, I think we'll talk about some things afterwards. One of the interesting things apparently, and I actually think this is more a questionable thing that sometimes shows up in history, is that the lead actress in the movie was Czechoslovakian. And so apparently Hitchcock claims that she is completely dubbed by, you're not seeing the sound version, right? In the sound version, she moves her lips to someone else saying the lines right off camera. So it is almost like a puppet performance, and it's kind of strange, but the lips match perfectly. It's a really crazy thing. So anyway, forget all I said about the sound version. I've only had a half a cup of coffee this morning. So enjoy this, and if you like what I've said, come back tonight at 9 o'clock to see my other movie. So it's Scott Alexander. Take care.